Some of this may sound duplicate, but we'll get through it. And then obviously if there's any questions. But what we're going to do is go through this and basically make, take what Ignite has put together and then add kind of what we do or have experienced in the past. And then also going forward, things are going to change. I mean, we've been through the short sale crisis and everything else, but things are definitely going to change in our world. And hopefully the mortgage companies do what they need to do to give the people that have not received paychecks for a certain period of time, those types of things, some grievance. So they know they're still employed, they're back at their employer, and hopefully those mortgages go. I did hear mortgages on the low end credit score lenders are pretty much almost obsolete now. And then somebody told me, I've heard it from two different lenders, that the jumbo loan lenders initially bailed, but I don't know if they're back yet or not. So that's going to tighten things up for buyers. But it does mean you'll get more qualified buyers within that range instead of taking the chances. But I'll go ahead. I'm going to turn my video off so you guys can still hear me. But we'll go through, I'll share my screen and we'll go through this. All right. So basically what we're going to talk about today is working with sellers. Yesterday they went through with negotiating the deal about the do not call and do not mail list. It's very important when you're doing that. Make sure that you're not calling sellers that are on the do not call list, and also not mailing to sellers that are on the do not mail list. It is in trend, Bright. I keep saying that. It is in Bright, so you can go in and you do a simple export. There are different exports you can pull out, so just make sure the one that you're pulling out, there's one that includes every field, and you can delete columns as needed. But it's something we do. We pick an area, zip code, neighborhood, whatever we're going to mail to. We don't do mailings that often. Usually it's the celebration of recently sold. We used to do just listed, which I still agree with to a point, but you're not past inspections, and you don't want to be that just listed agent and then the house come back on the market. And then people say, oh, well, they sold it, but then they didn't. So we kind of wait until we're past that mortgage commitment stage, or even wait till settlement and send it out then. But we always go in, I go in, I do my search, whatever the criteria may be. I pull it up. I sort it by the do not mail list, yes or no, and I get rid of the people that are on the do not mail list. And every advertising piece, just a little hint of marketing, every advertising piece you do, if you're going to mail, drop it off at a door, do whatever. One, if they have a sign out front, common sense, don't put anything on their door, don't put anything on their property. I've had agents do it to me, and I have had sellers who basically priced too high, was blaming it on us, of course. And then we had another agent from another company. She's done it to me twice, where all of a sudden the seller is listed with her. And I found out from neighbors that she had approached them directly, knocked on their door with my sign out front. So it's a big no-no, but at the bottom of every mail piece you do, anything you put on a door, any flyer, anything like that, just put in there, and I can send you the language. I can't remember it verbatim, but it's basically, this is not to void any agency agreements currently in place. That way you're covered legally. You're not doing a solicitation to that seller directly. You're doing a blanket solicitation with a blanket language. So that's kind of, when you're doing your lead generation type stuff. But when we go through this class, like I said, this one's a little bit shorter than yesterday, so we have a little bit more time to talk about topics. If anybody wants to jump in, I'm willing to answer anything. There are some role play exercises in here that we would normally break off into groups, and you'd have partners. But with that, it's kind of difficult to do in this kind of environment. So we'll touch base on those things and talk about them. The things we're going to talk about today is motivation, qualifying and converting seller leads, pre-qualifying sellers, and then the listing presentation. There is an Ignite toolkit. I'm sure Tommy can give you the links. It's probably up on the Market Center wall. But for all the different things that you guys use for your lead generation and success lists. I was trying to quickly find that before this started, but I couldn't find that one PDF. So let's get started here. So finding your seller leads, everybody, to me, there are systems in place. There's processes in place. You have your database, you have your calling, your lead generation. Open houses, I don't know for sellers. I don't know how much business that gains. I have hosted open houses, and sometimes sellers or owners of homes from others are more nosy than anything else. But every once in a while, you can get somebody saying, "Oh, I'd like you to come over to my house as well." And then a large percentage of our business is referrals. I mean, we've been doing this for 15 years now. So we always like to have a successful transaction. And from that successful transaction, we ask our sellers and buyers if they'd like to go ahead and post a 5-star review for us on Zillow. I'm not a big fan of Zillow, but Zillow is syndication. They are one of the largest ones out there. So if you want to be seen by the people who are going to go ahead and find Zillow and Realtor first, then that's why we choose that. There are Google reviews as well. I don't necessarily use Google reviews for those types of things because it's very, very difficult to have Google change or remove any reviews. They are not the easiest to work with. I have a review on Google right now that I never knew who she was. I don't even know who she is to this day. Gave me a 3-star rating and said some blurb about something. And it looked like she did it to 20 different types of businesses on the same day. I've submitted it to Google 5 separate times over the past year, and they've done nothing. So I don't even know who that person is. And I think that when the consumer looks at Google and they see 2 reviews, but they see 15, 10, 5 years of experience, they know that that's not the place to look for the review. So we send everybody to Zillow for our reviews because they keep track of them, and that we put a portal on our website so people can scroll through them there and then click on it to take them to Zillow. I don't want them in Zillow because I don't want them looking for other agents or anything, but that's going to happen naturally. And keep in mind with your website, it's usually a secondary thing. People are going to find you. You're going to talk to people. You're going to tell them to go to your site. That's what we've always done. There's a no pressure thing. Basically, here's our card. Check us out online, read our reviews, give us a call. Takes the pressure off of a seller 100%. There are questions you can ask to engage the seller, but that's kind of how we are. We go in kind of soft and trusting, basically. So that's how we kind of do things. Once we get done, we necessarily, throughout the process, we'll tell them, hey, if you guys have anybody that's interested in buying or selling, of course, we're real estate agents. I know there's different Buffini and all those types of groups out there that do different things. I personally, just me as a person, I don't like that being done to me, so I don't follow that thing. But like I said, everybody's to each his own, and some people have total success with it and some people don't. I think it all depends on your personality and the trust between 2 people. And that's kind of how we run our business. So obviously you have your database, you're calling, open houses, and referrals. And then your number one job as a real estate agent, to me, is to build a business for people, with people, by people, and have successful sales and transactions in order to gain future business. That's pretty much kind of our mission statement summed up. Like I said, everybody does something a little bit different. You have to do what you're comfortable with, because I can tell you, it's just nature. When you want to step outside your comfort zone, learn, and make that a comfort zone for you, and then do it again. But the thing is that when you're comfortable doing something, talking about something, you're passionate about something, people will see it. If you haven't gone on listing presentations, practice with somebody, practice in front of the mirror, challenge yourself, ask yourself questions. But the thing is that you're your own boss. You could take script classes, you could take coaching, you could do anything you want, but you're the one that's going to be sitting in front of the seller, and you're the one that's going to have to gauge if the seller's engaging with you, standoffish. Is there anything you can say or do during the process to kind of make them trust you a little more, become happier? Those are all people reading skills that you'll have to establish. But the thing is that as a real estate agent, there's people that some are just money, money, money. And I've seen the money, money, money come, and I've seen it go, because the repeat business, the referral business, people know that it was all about money, and that's it. So we do a soft touch after every transaction. Hey, how you doing? We don't rush to get a review right away. I will usually wait a week, sometimes 2, depending on if they're moving, they're transferring. If it was an estate where the family was selling it, they wanted to give us a review, but I know it's a difficult emotional time for them. So we do that kind of sporadically without pressure. We get good reviews. Some people, they just don't want to do a review, and it's fine. It's not offensive to me. It's completely up to them. We do tell them that if they're going to do anything less than a 5-star review, to please contact us directly first, because we would like to know if there's anything we could have done differently or anything like that. Knock on wood, we really don't have that happen too much, but I'd rather deal with that before they post, because Zillow can be a little bit difficult as well with removing reviews. The one thing I don't like about Zillow is a person can rate you based on any stage of the process, whether you took them out and showed them 10 houses and then they decided not to move, which happened to us years ago. Took a teacher from Jersey out, showed him 10 houses, turned around. He said, I have to stay here because I can't get my tenure if I move to Delaware, which is true. So he ends up giving us a 3-star review on Zillow saying negotiation was a number 2. And we didn't even get to that stage. And I told Zillow directly, I said, you guys, just like you qualify us to verify, did you sell this house? Check here, and you're going to be stamped as admitting this. The buyer or seller should also, did you complete the entire process? Yes or no? Because if they didn't, they really should not be rating you on anything at all, because they haven't completed the process. So I don't know if Zillow's changed that or not. I haven't run into that recently. I know where I find seller leads, and it's more social interaction. Facebook is one of my big things, but it's not business Facebook. It's people know I'm a real estate agent, and I throw nice, funny things out there, our family, friends, jokes, animals, just funny stuff to keep people following you. And I don't inundate them with business. I do throw out just listed, just sold. If you're looking to do anything, I've been doing random posts on Facebook talking about, this is what we're doing. We're able to go ahead and conduct business. If you're not looking to conduct business, even if you're looking 6 months out, we can do what we're doing now, a Zoom meeting to discuss the process, buying, selling, so that you're prepared. Because I think that when this breaks or when this thing's over and the economy does pick up, I'm not talking it's going to be a flip of a switch. It's going to seem like it. But I know there's a ton of coming soon listings, and I know there's a lot of sellers that we have, about 15, that are all waiting. So once they're ready to go, we're going to be probably working 18 hours a day for a few weeks, getting pictures and doing descriptions and listings and such. But do you guys have any place that you find leads more than others? Anybody? Nobody?
Saw a couple heads shake, but
that's all right. That's all right. So the one thing is what I tell people, like I said, what you're comfortable with. When you find that one source, you're going to, and here's an analogy that I did when I first started. I was a tech guy, so I went and I took 6 months to build my brand, to do my websites, to get everything laid out there, because I was going to hit the ground running and take over the world. And unfortunately, I learned very quickly that, one, when you're on the internet as an individual agent, your search engine optimization, all those things are going to help you. But if any agent goes in and types in, anything about real estate, you're going to see Zillow, you're going to see Realtor. Now you're going to see HomeLight, Effective Agents, and Fast Expert. Those are the referral companies that are located in California and Florida. They send you a referral. You're locked in for 2 years. Anything you do with those companies or those companies' leads for 2 years, you are obligated to give them a 25% referral fee. We do business with them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes they'll call you up because they're rating you on how your leads were converted or not converted. But most times it's tire kickers, a very large percentage of it. When I first started, I used to call it fishing. I'm going to throw one line in, and I'm going to go ahead and just wait and see what I can catch, keep throwing that line in. And for me, that was all internet advertising and then networking with my, sphere of influence, so to speak. What ended up happening was I learned very quickly, like, wait a minute, I talk to people, I'm out, there's mailings that I can do, there's neighborhoods that I want to focus on, there's the internet, then there's also single pages, internet pages that I can build, just asking a buyer, what are you looking for? Very simple, no agency, everything's down the bottom of the screen, but no pressure, anything like that, just what are you looking for? Now, this was before Zillow and Realtor. Zillow didn't even exist when I started. Realtor was very antiquated. So there wasn't a lot of search engines out there for home searches. So we would send us your criteria. We'll set you up in the live accurate system that feeds every system. That way you're on top of things. And buyers would like to hear that. Now, they still want to go to Zillow and all those things. I tell them your best bet is Realtor. Realtor.com is actually connected to Bright. So it's not the most flexible, but it is the most accurate when it comes to information because it is a direct feed. Zillow is not always a direct feed. Some brokers don't feed to that. Some agents update, but then they don't follow through. So you never know what you're going to get on Zillow as far as the accuracy of the property. So what I found was I crab now. I drop a pot here, I drop a pot there, I drop a pot there, and then I come back and touch on those pots to see if anybody's interested in doing business. So that could be out being social. I do love my realtor friends and business associates and everything, but a lot of times we're too busy with other things to attend these events, and it's not, to be insulting to anyone, but most times we're interacting with other realtors at a business event. So it's kind of like we're not going to get any generation from that. So when we go to those events, we have our cards and we talk to people because a lot of times we're maybe looking for a vendor, they're looking for a realtor, whatever it may be. And from those, we'll get referrals because somebody will talk to us and say, hey, I talked to Steve Freeberry, Karen Freeberry last night, and they were pretty nice to talk to. You may want to give them a call. So that's one pot. And then we have our just being social directly. Then we have our social media. Then I do search engine optimization. We own 110 different websites. So they're not all websites. They're just the domain names that filter a lot of them forward back to Team Freeberry. So if you go in, I test it myself. I have Google, doing my site index and all that. And there's another class that I can talk to you about technology. And there's two different levels. I can get into the top level of how to do online marketing, websites, all those things, website forwarding, search engine optimization. And then there's another class that I can get a little bit more detailed in for the people that are truly techie, that really want to get into that. But I will tell you that there are services out there. I don't use them directly, but there are services out there that you can just pay them. And sometimes it's worth the time and the money to just pay them to create and set up what you need. And then you take it from there. So when we're connecting with seller leads, obviously it's funny, my degrees in marketing, and when I was in Goldie Beacom College years ago, these were the questions you always asked anyway for anything, advertising, marketing: who, what, when, where, and why, or who, what, where, why, when, and how. So it's going to apply to any sales job, any advertising, anybody who's trying to move a product or a service. So basically, obviously, you have a database, you want to keep a database. That's fine. I do have a database. It's not as tightened up as it should be, but I'm more of a memory guy. So I'm fortunate that I have somewhat of a photographic memory. So I kind of like every week, I know who to call, when to call. We do use Google Calendar for all our appointments, but I know when to shoot an email to somebody on a subtle basis. Hey, we talked a couple weeks ago, we talked yesterday, whatever it may be. But we do want to find out, what's going on. You're married. I mean, obviously you can't ask a lot of these questions, but do you have kids? Are you looking for a place with 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms? Are you going to be there for a while? All those types of things. And that way you can store that information however you wish in your database or notepad or whatever you'd like to do. And then that for the future. When you call them, when you talk to them, hey, how's the job going? Hey, did that job transfer happen? What's going on in general. It just allows you to be a person, not a salesperson. Assessing their needs, we always find out, what are you looking for? What do you want to do? But we also say, realistically, what are you looking for? What do you want to do? Because you can have buyers, and I have a few of them right now. They want to look at $325,000 houses when they're not approved for more than $295,000. Obviously, that's a big no-no because we know in this market, nobody's going to overprice their house that much. And if they do, it's going to be a for sale by owner because no agent that I know of is going to waste their time putting a sign out on a listing that's $35,000 or $30,000 above asking from every other property. So basically, where do you stand? I know this is your max. You may not want to go to that max. What do you feel comfortable with? Did you talk to your lender about payment? Those types of things. And we do put all the lender onus on the lenders. I don't try and get into mortgage calculators and what your mortgage payment is going to be with principal and interest. We don't know their situation. We don't know their credit score. We don't know their debt to income ratios. We don't know any of that. And we are not the ones that are going to stamp the approval and give them a loan. The lender is. Our job is to help people find homes, sell homes, get through the whole entire process from contract to close successfully. Everybody ends up happy in the end, sometimes not happy. But as long as you end on a good note, it should give you repeat business. Pinpoint location, obviously we're in Delaware. So you know how you can drive this whole state in an hour and a half, hour 90 miles an hour if you're going down Route 1 with no traffic. But basically, find out where they want to be. Some people are not familiar with Delaware. What we do is if we meet with those people when they're buying, it could be somebody selling an estate, whatever it may be. And I know we're talking about sellers. I'm going to go back and forth. But pinpoint their location, where they want to be. We show them a map of Delaware if they're not familiar with it. We will meet with them, especially if they're out of town. We'll tell them, hey, you know what? I know you're ready. I know you're pre-qualified. I know you're not ready to buy a house today, but let's go ahead and pick 5 or 6 in different areas based on what you've told me. Let's hop in the car and, let's go look at these houses. So I can tell you, you're going to get similar houses in age, size, shape, and color in Newark and also North Wilmington. They're going to be the same. It's just a matter of proximity. You're going to get your Hockessin homes, your Pike Creek area. How close are you to major routes while we're driving through? Oh, this is where you would want to do all your shopping if you decided to live in this area. You just kind of, ride them up and down Kirkwood Highway, ride up and down 202. Give them kind of the overall values of the neighborhoods as we're driving through, and then also showing them some sample homes. We've done it. People weren't ready, and surprisingly, at the end of the day, they're like, you know what? I really like that 123 Main Street, and I want to make an offer. And you took a little bit of time, you made them feel comfortable, and that's your job, and then you get a deal. When it comes to sellers determining their motivation, we talked about this a little bit yesterday if you guys were in that class. When somebody says, I don't have to sell, I'm just checking, I'm doing that, that's a big conversation to have, and it's not an argument, it's not anything else. So why are you moving? Well, I'm tired of this, I'm downsizing, whatever. Okay. The question is, and I'm not challenging you, but do you have to move, or do you want to move? Because we will actually be proactive and say, sometimes sellers will say, I don't have to sell. And when that mentality starts, that means you're going to price high. You may be difficult on negotiations because you priced high. You may be difficult on inspections because you don't have to sell. So if you're motivated to sell, you're going to get a buyer. You're going to get a contract. We're going to have to follow that contract. And I'm not here to set you up to fail. So basically, when we get this moving, I'm going to give you my advice. I'll market to any number you'd like and do my process as I normally do, contract to close. But are you willing to sell your house? Because when you say you don't have to sell, that's a big red flag for us. And like I said, we're more proactive on it. We don't bring it up. We don't make a big deal about it, but we do want to know, because you're going to take the time taking all these pictures or hiring somebody to take pictures if you do that, writing descriptions, making sure the MLS is completed, your time, your money, your effort. You're going to do open houses. If you do open houses, you're going to do all these things. And if a seller's not motivated to sell, all you're doing is trying to generate business from an avenue, a tool, because that house isn't going to sell. Doesn't happen that often, but sometimes when we hear that, we do dig a little bit deeper in a professional way just to find out. Obviously, during that, determine their motivation. You're going to find out their timeline, and then also assess their expectations. What is it that you're looking for? Now, most times, I talked about this yesterday, we actually do a marketing presentation. It's an entire listing presentation. It shows them how we're going to sell their houses, where their house is going to be, how we price homes, the descriptions we write, a sample appraisal. We go through the whole appraisal process with them at the table, telling them, here's a sample. You may think that your house is worth $10,000 more because you put in new light switches and you put in new chandeliers or new ceiling fans and everything else, but that's not how it works. It's more of a buyer appeal. What does the buyer, when they walk through the front door, what are they concerned with? If everything's taken care of, you're going to get a stronger offer, because then they don't have to worry and put an HGTV astronomical price on what they're going to do. So basically, we talk to them when we go through their house and we say, okay, what's your expectation? Are you planning on changing anything? Do you want to try and get top dollar? Do you want to go fair market value? Do you want to try and get rid of this quickly? What are your plans on this? And then from there, we will go ahead and say, you know what, painting the house, neutralizing the rooms, putting new carpet in, 5 will get you 10. So that's definitely worth the investment. Redoing a whole entire kitchen, putting in granite kitchen countertops and all those things, that's kind of a up in the air type thing, because you may be making a lot of assumptions that a buyer may or may not like. So we usually try and tell them to put it into the price or get a quote on redoing the kitchen so that we can present that. and let buyers know where we're coming from, because once again, you do have contractors that can come in and say, oh, bathroom's $30,000, kitchen's 50. Now that in my mind's ridiculous. I mean, I get bathrooms done for 10, 15,000. I mean, nice bathrooms. And I can get kitchens done for usually 15, depending on the utilities or the appliances they're going to use. So, a lot of times contractors are just charging what they can because they know their competition is charging the same. So we try and go through and we try and tell them, you don't have to go gung-ho. You don't have to take all your personal pictures off the wall unless it's a, big collage of 20 grandchildren. And yeah, that's distracting. But they're going to live in their home. If they're not living in their home, then, the home can be vacant. If they want to stage it, they can stage it. But we go through all these actions.
No, well, I told him.
What's that? It's a mic error. So basically, how will these connecting questions help you determine and motivate the potential seller is? Like I said, if you ask these questions, you're going to find out, and you're going to get a sense and a feel for where they are, and then you'll adjust your time frame based on that, which we're going to get to in a second. Are there any other questions that you guys do or anything to find out the wants or needs of your seller? This is a quiet class. We should do this at happy hour, Tommy.
We need to start. I mean, it is quarantine, and you know what Jimmy Buffett says.
Yeah, I have to go take pictures of the house.
Oh, Steve,
Yes.
Everything is fine. We just don't want to interrupt. Thank you very much.
No problem. No problem. I just wanted to check. So these categories, categorize your seller. A, sooner rather than later. B, kind of in the middle. C, going to do something soon, but we're not ready yet. So basically able, ready, and willing to do business in the first 2 weeks after you meet with them, talk with them, or have any conversation with them. I wouldn't follow up daily to secure an appointment. I would try and get that appointment right when we talk, because it's not a matter of pressure or anything. Hey, I'm looking to sell my house in the next couple of weeks. I want to get it on the market. Okay, well, when are you available this week? Night, day, whatever it may be, weekends. We work 7 days a week. And they'll be like, oh, these days work. Or if they're not ready, they say, I have to check with my wife, a family member, whatever it is. And we'll say, okay, can I give you a call tomorrow? I'll just shoot you an email tonight to remind you, or tomorrow. And let them kind of set the pace, because like I said, I'm a big person. I don't like not big person. I'm a big person that does not like, I'm big on communication in a subtle way. I don't like walking onto a car lot with a car dealer following me around. Unless I'm looking for somebody. If I'm looking for somebody, I'm going to come to them. And that's how I feel we run our business. We tell people we're real estate agents. They know we are. People talk about us, whatever it may be. But even when we have a conversation, it's not like when, because it just, in my mind, it turns people off. And then that's going to kill your referral business. Because if somebody feels pressured on the way in, they're going to feel pressured all the way through. No matter what you do, because if they felt that way going in, it's very hard to flip that when you're in negotiations. You're coming in with a low offer. You're coming in with a large inspection list. It can be difficult. And that seller would just want to be like, you know what? Okay, let's get through this and we're done. But you don't want that. You want to get through it. And that was great. I know we ran into some bumps in the road. You handled it perfect. We're the best you could. And I definitely am going to refer you to people. My sister's looking. And we get a ton of business that way. And then obviously you have B, which, how far out are they if they're going to be a couple months? Once again, I don't call every 2 or 3 days. I think that's a lot. But it depends on you and your personality and how you like to work. I try and get that meeting, even if it is, hey, can we meet sometime in May? Sure. May 15th at 5. Sure. I'll be there. And what we do, because what happens is, they start talking at work and somebody says, oh, you got to use my brother's realtor. He was the best, and all this other stuff. Always, if you set up an appointment for a few weeks out, a month out, whatever it may be, even if it's 6 months, if it's more than 3 months, I would say follow up once a month, just to make sure. But usually if it's a couple weeks, we follow up a week before, and then a couple days before, just to say, just confirming we're still on. I just want to make sure everything's good with you. And check on the progress. Like if we've told them to do some things, and we provide them with vendors as well, because we have a ton of vendors that we use. this is the part where we would do the role playing and all those things. But the best way for cultivating the C leads, the ones that are out there for a while, like I said, what I do is I tell them, hey, look, if you're looking at 6 months, that's great. Can I put it on my calendar that I'll touch base with you once a month, every 2 weeks? What do you feel comfortable with? You tell me, and then that's what I'll follow. That way they're dictating. And if they say, you know what, stop calling me, stop emailing me, you can turn right around and just say, I'm just doing what we said based on our conversation, or what we agreed upon, I should say. And then that takes the onus off of you of being a pest, bothering somebody, those types of things. But I definitely would go ahead and put them on a drip, put them on your newsletter, send them updates. That's one of the most important things. What we do, and this is one of the things that we absolutely would do on these types of people, is we set up what you call a neighborhood watch. So, okay, Mr. Seller, you want to sell in neighborhood A. So what we're going to do is we're going to set you up in your neighborhood and it's going to be a system automatic send to you, automatic email, and it's going to show you any active, coming soon, pending, temporarily off the market, and settled properties. This way you're going to see, just like we would as agents, what happens as it goes through the process. So if your neighbor's house hits the market, you're going to be notified. Once it goes under contract, you're going to be notified. Once it sells, you're going to be notified. So they're well aware of that. Now, you want to make sure that you follow up on that, because when they get an email, make sure you are copied on that email so that you can follow up with that. Because sometimes sellers will go ahead and receive that information, and then they may forget about you, even though your name and picture is on that email, on that, update. And they could say, oh yeah, well look, this agent sold the house down the street. This agent sold the house around the block. All of a sudden they're calling that agent. So you want to make sure that, you kind of stay on top of that. But we call it a neighborhood watch. We set it up for all of our potential leads down the road, and then all of our sellers when they go under contract, so that they are aware of any other activity. If the neighborhood's small, or it's known that there's a lot of activity across zip codes like 19810, 19803, we will do a radius search, usually a mile out, depending. We will try and stay in the same zip code, but North Wilmington is North Wilmington. So you usually would just go ahead and put them in that. But that's one way to stay in front of people with pleasant information, or, just information. Here's what's going on in your neighborhood, not somebody saying, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? But like I said, everybody's a little bit different. I used to do a bunch with scripts. I used to write my own scripts and those types of things, but I just found that the scripts for me were a reference point to what to ask and talk. But then I took those scripts and said, okay, how would I want to present it to me? Or I've asked other clients, how would you like it presented to you? That way it gave me a background to get that people feel. Because once again, business is business, and that's what we're all here for. But having the compassion, having the emotion, having, just an affiliation with your client and making them feel comfortable is the best thing for us anyway. So basically, converting or closing a lead is the process of asking for business. Connecting is crucial, but unless you get their business, you won't be making any money, which is 100% true. We all know that. Many agents are very successful at connecting with people. It's the asking of the business that is so challenging, which it is. You don't ever want to come out and say, you want me to sell your house? Are you looking to sell your house? Are you looking to sell your house? Because you have people that just moved, or they just inherited a property. I mean, there's so many scenarios. So obviously get the appointment. Like I said, the referrals from them for us, I will tell them at the table, if there's anybody else, that's looking for real estate services, just give us a call. I don't necessarily ask them for a name right there. I don't say, I know people, can you give me their names? I don't do that. I know people do, and I don't bash that. They may be successful at it. It's just not what I feel comfortable with. And I can't see that. It will be more of a fake interaction between me and a person if I was to try and do that. And then the reciprocal connection, basically they're contacting you, you're contacting them. And that's a good thing, because then it starts a whole conversation. And, hey, let me call Steve. Let me call Karen. Let me find out this. Let me find out that. Then they're calling us because they trust us. And that gets us in the front door. Back to the referrals, what we do at the end is we once again remind them, hey, if you have anybody interested, just let us know. And we do. I mean, a lot of times, usually if on a listing, whether it be a buyer or the seller refers, we usually get 2.5 to 3 leads per listing. on average. And that was the market before all this happened. So we'll see how it goes forward. But that's from buyer sign calls, internet calls, internet emails, and then also the seller telling their neighbors, hey, you guys sold this house. My neighbor down the street wants to sell a house. I just had one the other day. He said, look, these guys are looking to sell their house. We told them you guys were great and everything else, so that we're not giving you their number. They're going to call you. And we're like, great, that's awesome. And that's kind of how it works. We're past everything. We just have to settle. But anyway, going through these types of things, you have the hard close, let's meet. When do you want to meet? Let's set a date and time now. I kind of do a soft, I kind of do all these, but I don't really do a hard close. It's like, when would you want to meet? So let's just set up a date and time that's convenient for you. Instead of saying, like, let's meet now. How about, what do you have today? We kind of let them lead that. That way they feel kind of comfortable and everything until they actually get to know us. That's the kind of the soft close. I've really enjoyed working with you. When would you like to get together to discuss this further? That's kind of like what we would do on More Than Not. Can we meet today or tomorrow would be better. That's the direct close. Once again, you're giving them a decision to make, today or tomorrow. And they could come back and say next week, but then you go back into, okay, what day and time? So you're locking them down. The indirect is kind of what I was just talking about with the neighborhood watch. I know you're not ready now, but how about I send you this information and then you check it out. And if you'd like to meet further, we can sit face to face, or I can just touch base with you on a regular basis and you let me know what that would be. That's kind of what we do. So I'd say we'd be the soft and the indirect. The trial close. See, a lot of this could be done at the listing table where people want to get signatures right then and there. I don't do that. We've never done that. Unless they say, Steve and Karen, we're ready to go. You sold, 3 of our houses already, or family members. Just send us the listing paperwork and we're good to go. Obviously, you don't really have to close that. But after we meet, we do go and say, look, we've given you a lot of information about how we market our properties, what we do for our properties, how we're going to sell, the process and everything. So we're going to send you the comps that we've had printed here for you. We're going to email those to you so you can view the pictures. You can actually see what's online, because we're just giving you a synopsis of value. So all this will be follow-up. So yesterday I talked about a seller's net sheet. During our listing presentation, we do everything we do, and then we give them a seller's net sheet, which shows their price with the commissions, the state and county taxes, and everything else. So they can punch a number in at the top, and it'll automatically populate. So we do the same when we get an offer. If that offer has settlement help, we put the settlement help in there, the cost of a warranty. This way the seller is well aware of where they're going to be without inspections, but where they're going to be with their initial offer. So what we do is we send them an email with the comps. We send the bright list email so they can actually click through the pictures. Then we send them a columnar report you can choose down what kind of report you want to, or CMA you want to do. So that way they kind of see it in an appraisal view: number of bedrooms, number of baths, square footage, basement, finished, yes, no, deck, patio. They're kind of looking at it across the board so they can compare to houses in their area. And then we send them that seller net. After we send that to them, because we promised it to them, then after a couple of days, that's when we'll follow up and say, I know you've had a lot to review. Would you like to go ahead and set up a meeting with us? Or if not soon, then when would you like to? The negative positive close is, hey, I'm sorry to bother you, but would you like to meet to go over this? It's kind of like, I'm here. I don't want to pester, but, would you mind talking a little bit more? This one here, I've really enjoyed visiting with you, to be honest. I'm not sure if I can be of help or
Stop
not.
jumping around every 5 seconds.
What's that? That was just a mic. I've really enjoyed working with you, to be honest. I'm not sure if I can be of help or not, but I would be honored if we could meet to find out. As an agent, that's completely up to you, but I would never say, I don't know if I can help you or not, unless you're in a situation where it's a sale that you just do not want to deal with. Then I would not say that. I would just say, look, I don't know if we're the right agents for you in this property, because we don't do a lot in that area, but I'll refer you to somebody who does. And what I'm talking about there is the investor, the people that buy 5 houses in Wilmington all at the same time, renovate them and rent them out, those types of things. I mean, some people go after that business. We're more of a normal resale, residential type sale. Team Freeberry, that's what we do. So when I do get those properties here and there, if we're in a position where we are interested in taking it on, we will. If not, we still deliver a service to them by saying, here's a great guy that does that type of stuff. He's going to work with you great. We get a referral fee from it, and they're happy because we gave them information. So whenever you're in that situation, I don't know if I'd say if I could help or not, because you want to seem like you're the person that they want to come to for any answer that they need. The tie down close, wouldn't it make sense for us to meet in the next day or so? That kind of comes back up to the top. Do you want to meet today or tomorrow? Because you're trying to tie them down. But once again, I just tell them, hey, what's convenient for you? I don't like the pressure. So when would you like for me to call you? And that way they've told you, you're just following up on what they told you. It's kind of like the lead generation companies I was talking about. These people are calling these companies, going online, doing whatever they're doing to get to us. And when we contact them, they're like, oh, I'm not interested. Well, look, I'm just doing a follow-up because you submitted a request, you, not me, to HomeLight, and HomeLight gave it to me. So I'm just following up. So if you really are not interested, could you please contact HomeLight directly and go ahead and tell them that you're not interested. That way they'll remove you from the system, and they will not ask me for a status update. Therefore, I will not ask you. It takes the onus off of you being pressurous at all because somebody else gave you the referral. And then, what works for you, the meeting today, sometime this afternoon or tomorrow morning, that's just giving them the times. A couple of these are relative. But we're always soft about it. I don't necessarily do anything hard close when it comes to offers, which we'll talk about in a minute. But when it comes to offers, what we end up doing is when dealing with other agents, I go to my sellers and say, look, the offer's low. They're asking for settlement help. They want this, they want that. You don't have to agree to any of this, but if you don't want if you want to try and keep this on the table and see where it stands, because people test the waters, how about we just go back with our lowest and best? And if the buyer doesn't like it, at least you gave it your all. And, usually I'll come back to the agent and say, look, the seller's here. You're asking for a lot. We just hit the market. We have some interest, nothing in hand. But we're trying to be fair and reasonable. Here's the lowest and best my seller was willing to do at this time. It could change in 2 weeks, but right now this is where it is. So tell your buyer that. I'm not trying to be rude or anything else, but tell your buyer and let's see what we can do. And sometimes they'll come back and they'll counter back again. And now my seller is, they've said, well, this is as low as I'm going to go. But you know how it works. When they get close, it's kind of like you went out and you started looking at a car and you're like, oh, let me look at this basic car. Then all of a sudden you're driving off in a Porsche. So it's kind of the same thing. Like as you get closer to your goal, you're going to be forgiving on things. So we try and get our sellers engaged that way. We never pressure, but they're going to be the one to make the decision, because if the deal falls through and then they're stuck with nothing, sometimes they'll come back and say, hey, a week or two later, is that other buyer still there? So that's kind of what we do with our sellers there. Pre-qualifying sellers. So when calling to set up a listing appointment with a seller, you want to confirm the important details, including their motivation, their readiness to sell. Pre-qualifying the seller will help you prepare for the listing appointment and gives you insight into the mindset of the seller. This also helps you avoid wasting your time on those who are truly not interested, because trust me, you're going to have sellers that are going to come and go. You're going to have buyers that are going to come and go. I personally take it personally. Because I always think it's something that, we may have said or done or not done. But usually that's not the case, because we do kind of cover everything. But sometimes just people go with other people. I was just telling Tommy the other day, unfortunately, we had 3 referrals from the effective agents, one of the referral companies. And Karen went on all 3 appointments because I was doing other things. So we'll go together. Sometimes I go, she goes. But usually everybody loves Karen. She's usually, they're going to list with us. They're going to list with us. One was a divorce situation. We never heard back from her. We sent her all the information, followed up. She never responded. Then she listed with another agent who was charging her a higher commission, which we know it was a divorce situation. So we don't know if the spouse, who we didn't meet with, Karen didn't meet with, if he was kind of saying that this is the way we're going. Another lady basically wanted, she thought her house was worth $500,000. I think she was looking for the agent that was just going to say, yeah, let's put it up for that, which we always tell them we're going to market to your number. But she never called us back. We followed up with her a few times, and she ended up listing with another agent at a number that we know she's not going to get. So that was kind of like she was just looking for somebody to say, hey, yeah, I can get that for you. But once you're under a listing agreement, then it's kind of hard to get out unless the agent's willing to do, which we always do. If somebody wants out of a listing appointment, the trust is gone. Unless we're in the middle of negotiations or something like that, we brought a buyer, we have a contract, those types of things. But if somebody just says, you know, Steve, we want out, whatever it may be, it doesn't happen that often. Personal reasons, whatever it is, we're like, fine, you know, here's your release, you're good to go. Obviously, we have a clause in our listing agreement that says if they sell a house without another realtor in the next 120 days, then we are entitled to our commission, because you want to protect yourself. You know, people will knock on people's doors, unfortunately, and try and get rid of the realtors, which has happened to us. We found out where they were settling. We contacted the attorney and we got paid at the table. The seller wasn't too happy, but he broke the law in my mind. Pre-qualifying, when we talk about that with sellers, of course, we've already went through what's their motivation, their readiness to sell. Is there any work that needs to be done to make the house presentable? We always talk about the 3 Ps in our listing presentation. That's the promotion, which we're going to take care of, and the property is going to be advertised and marketed everywhere. So we're not worried about that part of it. As far as the pricing is going to get them to the front door, if they feel that the price is attractive, because keep in mind, they're going to be looking on Zillow, or they're going to be looking on Realtor, they're going to be able to see the other comps that have sold, regardless if a realtor is running for them or not, and regardless if those numbers are correct. They should be, but that's why we do our own set of comps for the listing appointment. But you want to go ahead and make sure, you know, that they are motivated to sell, but most importantly, if they're looking to sell to buy, so they have to sell to buy, make sure that when you meet with them, you tell them, here's a lender. If you don't have one, please contact them and get pre-approved, because you do not want to waste your time getting everything prepped for a listing only to find out that if they don't get full price, when it could be asking high already, if they don't get full price, they're not going to have enough money to do what they need to do. Their money's tight. They want to put, 10% down, but they only have 5%. They're going conventional, so they can't ask for the settlement help. I mean, these are all things that you can have set up before you actually start even selling their home. That way, you know, when their house sells, you hit the ground running and go start looking at homes. But you already know they're qualified. There's no delay in the process. And then there's a role-playing thing there. So listing presentation, what we do in this, and this is kind of, I'm going to summarize this whole thing. We basically have, it was Mike McGavis or Keller Williams. I think it was Keller Williams that Mike did his own. But I just asked him early on, can I use this? It was a 2-page, Word document. And he said, sure. And I said, I'm just going to make it my own. This is just kind of a template for me to get started with. So we have our listing presentation. The way we designed this was, we want to go into a seller. We know all the internet questions. What's your average days on market, blah, 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 blah. So we want to go in and say, okay, Mr. Seller, you know what? Here's what we do to sell your house. Here's what we do to price your house. Here's what we do to report what's happening with your house. We have front page, pretty much what every agent does, goes in the MLS, lockbox on the front door, sign outside if you want it, those types of things. Page 2 goes into all of our advertising. Where is your house going to appear? Realtor, Zillow, social media. I'm going to go ahead and post your house on different sites all over the place. I'm going to continue to promote it. It's going to be out there. Links are going to be everywhere. Facebook, our business pages. So we list out, there's like 20 things on this page, which actually it's more like 75, but I don't want to inundate them. We talk about the 3 Ps, the promotion, the pricing, the presentation. We go into the appraisal value, which I was talking about earlier. So you go in and you say, look, here is how an appraiser looks. The comps that I'm reviewing with you right now are most likely, not 100% sure, but most likely the comps that the appraiser is going to pull as well. And if we have a little bit of a high-end number here, I'm going to provide these comps to the appraiser, because I only get one shot to talk to the appraiser. So I'm going to provide these comps to the appraiser to let them know where we're coming from. Most appraisers will appreciate that. Some won't. They get a little testy. But most appraisers will appreciate it because you've done the homework for them. And if they can meet the number, then they're going to meet it. So we go through the appraisal process and trying to bring them down to reality, saying that, look, all the houses in this neighborhood sold for $300,000, 305, 295, 300. For you trying to get 350 is not even feasible. You're kind of setting yourself up to fail, because I can't find anything even close to 350. If you have a unique property, and we have one right now, it's like we have a unique property, large lot in an area that doesn't produce a large lot. It's a great house, and the seller wants to get top dollar. So I said, well, let's split an appraisal. You know, I'm willing to put my money forth to save me time. So let's call an appraiser. Here's one you can call. Give him a call. Let him come through your house. We do an appraisal. He gives us a value. I now can market the property at the appraised value or below, depending on how we want to market. And then we go through pricing. We show the 3 different KW things. I don't know if they're still being used, but we use them. Triangle, showing you price your house to sell right in the center, and you'll sell quickly. Our famous phrase is, you know, the higher you price, the longer you're going to sit. The longer you're going to sit, the less you're going to get. Never seen it any other way. As time ticks, 30, 60, 90 days, buyers immediately ask when you're showing houses, hey, how long has this been on the market? Oh, so it's still on the market. So they haven't sold. So let me go in 30,000 less. That's when they're going to lose their money. Then we go through sample descriptions. Karen writes all the descriptions, fills those fields up with every single character. She was thrilled when they expanded it to the 2,500 or whatever it is.
Okay.
So
doesn't charge. How do you do those?
so basically, we go through and we go through all those things. And then we show them, we're going to send you a list hub report, which is going to show you where your house is marketed everywhere. It's going to show you the views every week. You're going to get a showing time report every Monday showing you how many showings you've had, the percentage of people that are interested, not interested. We always tell them, obviously, the best feedback you can receive is an offer. And then we go through and we just go through the CIS and those types of things. And then we just ask them, is there any other questions that you have? And most times, they've crossed off their list as we go through it, because we want to present to them an all-inclusive, here's what we're going to do type package. Because in the end, when they start complaining about pricing and they're not moving and they're not selling, you can come back and say, if you recall, once again, this is on them. You can recall, we went through this at the listing presentation and we gave you the ranges of where the house should be priced. You've received a ton of showings or no showings, and we still don't have an offer. So the thing is that if you look back in the marketing plan that we provided to you, you're seeing that we're doing everything we've promised you. You still have the price slides. So please look at those and let's revisit them if we need to. That puts the onus back on them. They're the ones who made the decision. You're doing your job. You're doing everything you promised, and they have it in writing. So it's not a matter of just going in there and verbally saying, oh yeah, I'm doing that, I'm doing this. They have something to look at. Some of these agents, and I'm not bashing any agents by any means, but some of these agents go in with this big binder that shows the schools and the crime and this, that, and the other thing. I have yet to see a buyer take a seat in a house when I'm showing them 5 houses, 10 houses, 20 houses in a day, to take a seat, grab the binder and start looking through information while they're in the house. And then the odd thing is they bring it to the listing presentation. The lister already knows the schools, the area, what's going on. So I never understood that concept because all that information we provide to our buyers. We send them the seller's disclosure if they're interested in the property. We send them, we have links on our website to the Department of Education. If you want to find out the feeder pattern, go ahead, click that link, put your address in, and it'll tell you where it's going to feed for your schools. We send them all that information. To do a listing presentation with that, it just never made sense to me, because I never seen a buyer take a half hour or an hour in a house to read through a lot of this. Utility bills and stuff like that, sure, that's a different story. If they're sitting on the counter, it's like, oh yeah, their average bills this, or that's information about the property, which is great. The information about the surrounding area can come from the buyer's agent or different sources, but that's something we don't put in there. And then, we follow up. We ask them, and I tell them, I say, look, if you're interviewing other agents, which is going to be common, but if you're interviewing other agents, let me know if they're doing something that I'm not, and I will tell you that I will do it, or I did it before and it wasn't worth it. Because I spend a lot of time on the internet. I try and find new ways to market and advertise, because keep in mind, we've been doing this 15 years. We were around before Zillow. Realtor was always antiquated. I used to do all my own marketing and advertising. I'd create single page websites for all my listings. I'd have to physically, when Zillow came around, we'd have to physically enter to the MLS. We'd have to enter into Realtor. We had to enter into Zillow. We had to enter into Trulia. We had to enter in all this information in to make sure that our clients, it would take me 4 hours to set up a listing because of all the work we would do to get out there, because no auto feeds existed. So there's a lot that research that I've done of certain things, homes.com. And I tell them, I say, look, homes.com has a syndication to your listing. I'm not a big fan of them. If you type in Delaware Realtor, Team Freeberry and many other agents come up before homes.com. And then, like I said, we just asked them if they're interviewing another agent and they're promising them this, that, the other thing, they want to discuss it. We don't ever bash agents. I really don't even want to know who they're interviewing because I don't want anybody thinking that we did something or said something. Sometimes you might pass the agent, they're leaving, you're coming in, those types of things, so you know who you're up against. But we really leave it to trust and our presentation. And if somebody doesn't like it, like these last 3 people, I just think that there was some underlining things. I mean, we normally don't lose listing appointments, but it was very odd. And I told Karen, I said, well, things happen in threes. So those 1, 2, 3, we're out. So, but that's where we do all of our stuff. The other thing too, is I don't know if you guys do it or not. We could easily charge 6%. But we charge 5. That's 2.5 to each side, of course. And we tell our sellers that if we bring a buyer, we can drop the price down to either or the commission to 4.75, or you can say family and friends referral discount to 4.5. That way it saves them $1,000, couple $1,000 on higher end homes. It gets them motivated. You're willing to negotiate. You're not trying to gouge them on commissions. A lot of people have asked me in the past, why haven't I, and I have to grab my power cord here. Someone keep talking. It sounds like I'm walking away. But some agents asked me years ago when we were in a marketing class why I don't go in and try and charge 6, 7, 8%. And back then, that's when after the short sale crisis was kind of still around, finishing up. It wasn't as bad as it was. But my thing is that I'm not here to gouge consumers. I'm here to offer a lot of great services and marketing, but be fair and reasonable with our payment. Because I did not want to, and I did, and there's a little short story. I have 1 minute left, unless you guys want to continue and have questions. But I had Karen's friend, good friend, went and we helped her sell. She then referred us to a lady. Lady was selling her house, selling her fiance's house, and buying another home. It's about 1.3 million. So I went in and I told Karen, I said, you know what? Let's try this 6%. We'll do 3 and 3, but we're going to make sure that the seller knows if the commission's a problem, let me know. Well, we went in. Now, once again, this is a referral from a very good friend. And I mean, we thought we were in, no problem. We got a call back. No, we decided to go with another agent. We were just set off by your commission. And I immediately said, I told you that is negotiable. We can do 5%. If you'd like it. Now we've already selected another agent. So we lost 1.3 million in sales over a 0.5% commission. Because remember, 3 and 3, 2.5, 2.5. It's a 0.5% to each side. It was never worth it again. So we just decided we're going to offer a superior product at a reasonable rate, and basically, that's how we're going to do it. Some agents will get paid more on their side, which I can see sometimes. To me, it's a little unfair at the table. Because it should be a split, an even split. So I don't like doing that. The only time I've ever raised a commission on my side is when I have to pay a huge referral fee out to a relocation company who wants like 40% of your commission. So I will increase it to 3 or 3.5 to offset that deficit that we're going to run into. But for the most part, that makes them feel comfortable. We do tell them right then and there, because we don't want to promise them everything and deliver nothing. We tell them that over 95, 97% of their buyers are going to come from other agents. Usually buyers find agents, and then agents show them homes. So we would be more than happy to do a dual agency and just have us manage the entire transaction. Saves you money, makes us money. But the thing is that it may not happen, but we do have that out there. And a lot of people like the option to have that discount. So that's just something you guys could throw into your listing presentation if you'd like to or whatever, but it does help. It makes people feel that you're looking out for them, and you kind of are. You're saving them. I mean, $300,000 house, you're saving them some pretty good money. But I don't know if you guys have any questions or anything. I tried to cover pretty much everything that we normally do, and as long as following this template.
Thank you, Steve. We do have one question here about your seller net sheet. The seller net sheet, is that an Excel file, a document? What net sheet do you use?
It's a, let me just see if I can find one here. It's an Excel document. So basically, it's an Excel document. We fill in the property information at the top. Then you can put your price in. This all auto calculates. So you put your price in. You can put your, if escrow refunds are there, prorations. That's usually your oil and stuff, which you're not going to know till the end. But if you go in and you change this to a different number, I'm still in email, so it's not allowing me to do it. Hold on a second. So if you go in and you say, okay, I want to change it to 230, you'll see the numbers change down the bottom. So it's the commission that you're charging. If you change this to 4.5, it'll show them your transfer tax, state and county, and then anything else. Do you know your mortgage balance, or at least some ballpark figure? Put that in. Any warranties, settlement help. We do charge a $199 admin fee. We basically tell them that's for record retention, as well as the part-time person we have behind the scenes that submits all of our sales subs and listing subs, which they understand. We just tell them we do understand we're getting a commission, but this is a fee that is paid to someone else. They kind of understand that. Some agents charge more, some agents don't charge. We found that $199 is a nice, comfortable, non-challenging number, because we definitely do not want to lose a transaction over a $350 admin fee when it could be a $10,000 commission. But then they'll see their net sales price down here. And this is a great tool for them because, like I said, what Karen usually does is we put the listing presentation together, and she says, based on these three price ranges, based on what we've seen sight unseen, this is where your house could fall. And if it does fall in these price ranges, here's where you're going to be. So it definitely gives a clear, concise. And I think there's one on Bright too. I don't know if it does every category, but I think there's one on Bright as well.
Yes, thank you for answering that question for us. If anyone has any additional questions, how would they be able to get in touch with you? I know Tommy has a class that started a couple minutes ago, so we want to allow people who want to go over to Tommy's class that started at 12 noon be able to do that.
Sure. Just email at sold@team or you can go ahead and call me 302-420-8606. My number. All our information's on the phone, or on the website.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for 2 spectacular classes, one yesterday and one right now this morning. We really do appreciate your contribution to our market center and being in business with you. We really do thank you for
your
welcome,
time today. Thank you very much. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you very much. And like I said, anytime I have time. So anybody wants to talk about any topic on a side, do it through the office, whatever you'd like to do. We can always set up a Zoom meeting and kind of just sit around and chit chat and ask questions and go through that stuff. I love sharing this. I'm passionate about it. So, but I won't keep you guys anymore if you want to hop over to that other class. I do appreciate your time, and thank you very much, Leonard, for having me.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thanks. You're welcome. Take care.